Welcome to the Key to Growth podcast, Home Services Marketing Unlocked, with me, your host, Jen McKee. Every week, I sit down with top marketers in the trades, from the brains behind $100 million companies to those scaling from 1 to 3, even to 10 million, breaking down exactly how they got where they are and uncover the secret to their success. If you're ready to grow your business and get real, actionable insights, you are in the right place. Let's unlock the key to your marketing success, starting now.
Welcome back to the Key to Growth podcast. I am so excited to have my friend here. Are we friends, Ryan?
I'm going to say we're friends.
All right.
Can we
My
be friends?
friend.
If we're not friends, we are now, because now it's on record and you can't take it back.
Right.
Edit that crap.
We've met in person like 3 times now. So I think that we are definitely friends now. But I have Ryan Redding here. Ryan is the founder of Levergy, which is an incredible marketing agency here in the trade space. So without me having to introduce you, why don't you tell us who you are, Ryan?
Oh gosh, I actually liked it better when you were introducing me, because it's weird. I hate talking about myself, but yeah, I'm Ryan. I'm with Levergy. We're a full service digital agency for the trades. So if it's a digital thing, we probably do it. We primarily work with like plumbing, HVAC, electrical, roofing, and garage door companies. But yeah, we work with clients over the US and Canada. It's been a wild, crazy ride. And yeah, I hate talking about myself. So next question.
Keep going. So as you know, in this podcast, we are talking about how you can level up your marketing, and you're going to be learning from some of the best, and Ryan is one of the best. But Ryan, why are you so focused on home services? What makes it good for marketing?
Yeah.
Why do you like the trades?
This is actually kind of a weird answer. So I'm going to give you 2 answers, because the first answer is actually how I accidentally landed in the trades, because it was not by like design. A lot of people like go in the business and their business plan, and they get all these ideas. They're like, I'm going to execute this idea. I was just trying to help people. And like, so early on, I was consulting. Actually, it's planted in a university in Oklahoma, and I was consulting with like Main Street small businesses. So think about wherever you live. You know, there's like Main Street businesses. There's bakers and chiropractors and self-storage places. Like they're just lined up on the street. There's nothing special. And I was just doing like really, really low cost websites, because they all had really crappy websites. And I'm like, I'll do you guys a solid, gave me a little bit of spending cash on the side, gave them a website that didn't suck, and everything was fine. One of the guys who picked up at this time was a plumber. Like there was nothing special about this dude at all. Just one of dozens of industries that we worked with. And after we launched the website, after Google got him, he was on page 1, number 5 of his market within like 5 months.
Dang.
And the impact to his business was difficult to describe. Like I remember one of the first things he said was he was making like $150K top line. He was running a bunch of like Angie, at that point wasn't Angie, it was like Angie's Leads or whatever it was then. And he was just struggling to get by. He just couldn't get the work. And now I think he's closer to $6.5 million in revenue. He spends his time at the lake. He doesn't work in a business anymore. It's just like this crazy sort of impact that I saw firsthand digital have on his business, totally by accident. Like just, it wasn't like a plan. And he was the first one to say, bro, you got to do just people like me, because we don't know what we're doing. And clearly you do. And
he's still around.
Yeah, he's still around. Like
that's so cool.
But seriously, like he's not in the business. If you were to go by the shop or call the office, they're going to be like, no, he's not around. But he now has built a life that suits him and takes care of his family and his kids. It's been really cool to be a part of it. So yeah, that's how I accidentally landed up in the trades. But what I've come to find,
my story is like almost exactly the same, which is really funny.
Is it?
But it was with Leslie, but it was just like randomly where someone's like...
Leslie Harpool?
Yeah, she was my very first trades client.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. And so then it was just like, it was really cool because no one was doing social media really for the trades either. So that was really fun. But yeah, it was just like by one person who's like, hey, can you do this
and
for
what
me?
A great first person. Because like her and Brent, like they're pretty faces. They've got fun personalities.
I know, right? I love them too.
Like,
I love that. I still work with them. I love them.
Yeah,
they're awesome.
They're good people. Hi, Leslie. Hi.
Okay. So you said there were 2 things. Did you still want to talk about the other
thing?
Yeah.
Well, the other thing was like what I've come to find is that most people don't like having to call a contractor.
Yeah.
Like they're a little bit annoyed. They're a lot
because
pissed
their
off.
life sucks right now. And that's why they have to call tell them.
Yeah, like nobody's in a great mood. And so like we've gotten really, really good at being able to identify what our client's customer is feeling and experiencing and really trying to target that emotion. So we really have found out that like when we're focusing on things, especially in the world of marketing, like we're not trying to do about like, hey, no one cares about how long you've been in business and no one cares about like what your last name is. They just want to know like, can you fix the problem? Like, can they trust you? And so when we start dealing with all the trust questions, that's when we see the most impact. So for us, like practically speaking, that's why we've learned to love the trades, is because the customers, they're not like buying a pair of shoes. They're not him and hawing and comparing sizes and buying a pair and like, oh, it's not the right one. It's sending it back. It's like, no, they have a legit problem. We want to work with clients who are really, really good at solving the problem, providing great customer experience. And then the rest is just a lot of fun.
Yeah. Okay. So marketing is there's a lot to it. There's a lot of different avenues that you can go. And so where should somebody start? What is the first thing to focus on?
Okay. This is a really big question because it sounds like a simple answer.
Tell us the silver bullet.
Oh yeah. So there is not one. Like that's the thing. I think everyone's looking for like, just bottom line it for me. Like what is marketing?
Right.
Like what's the thing to do? And the reality is if everyone did the same thing, none of it would work. Right. So
but it's like all of it.
The reality is marketing, I would argue. I was talking with a friend of mine, Ryan Shute, about this a couple weeks ago. And Ryan Shute, Wizard of Ads, super, super smart and thoughtful guy.
Yeah.
And in this, like, I don't know if we were doing happy hour or what, but there was alcohol involved. And in the course of the conversation, we just kind of started saying like, marketing isn't Facebook and it isn't websites and it isn't PPC, although PPC is marketing and Facebook is marketing. Marketing is a really broad definition that talks about everything involving a customer who needs your service and you connecting with said customer. Mm-hmm. So it has to do with your branding. It has to do with how your CSRs answer the phone. It has to do with the whole sales process. It has to do with the pre-experience when somebody's looking at your website, poking around. How connected do they feel when they actually look at your social profiles and like they're like, oh, you're part of the community and you're human and I feel like I can relate to this. All of that is marketing, about connecting to the end customer with where they are, not where you wish they were, but where they are and your business's ability to meet them. So it's a broad term. So I would say the question here is like, well, where do you start? Like start with the customer. Like what is it that they're thinking? What is it that they're feeling? What's the problem with the market now they're not happy with? Is everyone in your area on, just a normal standard 40-gallon water tank for their water heaters? Like, is there an opportunity for people to be like, hey, I really want to save an energy cost. I want to do like tankless. Listen to the customers on what's important to them, then figure out the path to actually connect with them. I think if you focus on the customer first, everything else gets a whole lot easier down the road. It really does simplify a lot of decisions you have to make.
Yeah. And then you still have to figure out what to do after that.
Yes, sort of, but it's not as hard. So here's a weird metaphor. Let's pretend that you gave piano lessons, and let's pretend like, most people are going to drive 5 minutes to piano lessons because there's so many people like they can give their kids piano lessons or whatever, right? So you have like this 5-minute radius around your house or wherever that you can give piano lessons. But in the process, you start realizing that people don't just want someone to teach them piano because you're close. They might have a certain preference. So you might have one person who's like, oh, they want something super friendly, something super positive, like, great job, you tried really hard. And it's like encouraging and warm and fuzzy. And that's great. And then you might have other people who want like this really strict Eastern European style, like slapping your hands with a ruler because you did it wrong. Both are totally fine, but those are customers. Like you're focusing on the customer.
Yeah.
So when you can really clearly and comfortably say like, hey, we do the Eastern European like hand slapping part of whatever, it's a whole lot easier to craft your message and select your channels to reach those people that are looking for you in that way. And if people are like, that's cool, but can you do a softer approach? Can you do like a kid-friendly? You're like, nope, that's not what we do. You can go to this other company. They gladly will do like your really soft, fuzzy, warm approach. That's just not our thing. And that's great. So really the idea is you're not differentiating between competitors. You're differentiating between your customers.
Okay. That makes total sense.
All of your attention on targeting your target customers. And it makes everything easier.
Yeah. No, that was a great example to really make that super clear. The importance of reputation and SEO and all of these things. But I feel like that is just like, I don't know, the basics of it. But what, as far as a Google presence, where should energy be put first and what is going to be super important in the long run? Okay.
So this is going to sound like more of the same, but let's go there. So if you're wanting to compete on Google, there's really, let's call it 4 main options right now. There might be more options down the road, but for most people in the trades, there's 4 options. Option number 1 is AdWords. So this is pay-per-click. You pay to show up on a search when people look for it, and you're buying that traffic. Option number 2 is going to be Google Local Services. This is same thing. It's just not pay-per-click. It's pay-per-lead. It's had a lot of change on the platform over the past year, but you're still paying for that customer. You're not paying for the traffic necessarily. You're paying for the lead. And then you have 2, what we call organic options. Organic is going to be something you don't directly pay for the right to show. There's other algorithmic factors that play in. So on these, you're going to have like Google Maps. So this is like in some markets between 30 and 50% of the searches are like near me, plumber near me, AC repair near me. So that's going to be in the map section. And right now there's only 3, sometimes there's a 4th business that's picked. That's it. So of all the other piano teachers in your market, Google's only selecting 3, maybe 4. And then below that, you have organic. And then organic's kind of like the long tail, super high tickets tend to come from organic sections. So when you're trying to pick up where to go, you're like, cool, there's a lot of ways to like spend money with Google. But I would say the first thing you want to do is get a Google business profile so it can at least start the process of showing up on the map. It is free to do. Go to google.com/business, fill out everything about your business, blah, blah, blah. But then you just kind of are telling Google everything about your business. And it's not just you, but it's also your customers. So they can leave reviews for you and say, hey, this is what it was like when I called, Timmy out to repair something. Google learns about your business, and the better service you provide to Google's customers, the more visibility Google tends to reward you with. I would say if you're starting somewhere, like start with the maps, start with a free Google business profile. But the second part of the question is like, what should you focus in over time? And I'm actually going to go to the first thing I said earlier, focus on the customer.
Yeah.
Here's why this is important now. So a couple years ago, like with you're competing on ads or SEO or anything on Google, it was just like you're trying to like exploit the robot. Like you're throwing the keywords in there, you're like trying to say all the things the right number of times, like, and it worked then. Like it totally would work. Google has become more and more sophisticated where they focus more on like, so right now the framework is like, is it unique and helpful content? So in March of 2024, they had a big algorithm update where it's kind of like anti-spam, and they were focusing on the value of like human first content. And then just a couple weeks ago, they came up with another algorithm update prioritizing helpful human first content. So it's called the HCU, the helpful content update. This is still about adding value to your customer's life. So if they're always having issues with hard water because you have really crappy water in your town, give value on things that they can do to learn to understand how to deploy to fix those things. You're still focusing on the customer, on solving their problem. But when you provide that consistently in a helpful way, show your expertise, show you know what you're talking about. When you provide solutions to your customer's problem, Google then rewards you with real estate. And that could either be Gemini result, where they actually pull content from your website and show it up on Gemini. They can give you priority on search ranking. Fun thing, organic ranking influences the map pack ranking. So if you're also really wanting to focus on the map section, cool. Also focus on providing stuff to your website so that Google ties those things together. It's all comes down to like the beginning and the end. Start with your customer. And again, companies who do that well have a far, far easier time competing on Google. And to be honest, to a larger degree too, we could say that applies with other platforms like Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. These are also things that the more engaging you provide content to your audience, you can have dramatically different KPIs that you experience just by doing things that people want to see.
Right. So, I mean, do you think, or have you ever seen that social media content can impact Google's thoughts about a business, like as if it's a human?
Yeah. So some debate on this. So there used to be a time where people be really active on Facebook because the more you post on Facebook, Google's going to reward you.
Well, and so Google search pulls up LinkedIn, it pulls up Facebook whenever you do searches on brands.
They don't seem to be prioritizing those based on who's posting the most.
Right. It's
That's
just
the
like
weird part.
branded search.
It's like what's most helpful. Like it's going back to that, right? So if
what about like TikTok videos showing up?
So here's the thing about TikTok, and we're actually testing this now on our site and others that we manage, is that TikTok videos do rank well on Google. That's a relatively new change. Yeah, they are indexed and can rank. However, you can supercharge your website by embedding your TikTok video into your website.
Ooh, that's exciting.
So like if somebody does tankless water heaters, cool, you have a whole blog about here's the pros and cons of tankless. Great. Shoot a TikTok about the pros and cons of tankless. Push that on the TikTok world and also like cross share it on Facebook and Insta and all the other places. But embed that into your blog on your website. What we found is not only does that give you like a boost ranking because Google has more helpful content to pull from, again, helpful content, also speeds up the index. So Google seems to be hungrier for things that have those embedded short form videos than it is for just like long forms of text. So right now, yeah, do the TikTok, throw that thing in your website of an article that it's relevant and related to, and just do that. But again, you're focusing on customers, right? But Google will tend to when you provide helpful stuff to people.
Yeah. So is that when you're saying embed, so you're using like the TikTok embed code, you're not downloading it and putting it in there. So somebody asked me recently if blog posts, okay, two things, which one of them is like a really big question, which I think you answered, but we're going to be super clear on it first. Number one, like if you're just creating AI generated blog posts and putting them out there, how is that going to impact you? But then the other thing that they asked me about is there an impact whenever you're using video, YouTube, or just video in general in your blog posts?
So the second, I'll go to second, go backwards. So yes, if you take a related video and embed it into your post, it does help that particular post. So we still don't have enough data yet to go like, is that only TikTok? Is that also YouTube? Like other video outlets that Google tends to like more. Google's always like YouTube, but sometimes we'll do both. We'll do like a YouTube embed on one and we'll do a TikTok embed on that same one just to see what Google does. But on the first part, wait, what was the first question again?
The first question is everybody's like favorite question is, can't we just use AI to write our blog posts?
Technically, so this is part of the AI content that Google came out with in March of 2024. So Google's guidelines right now is, and this is subject to change, but right now they don't care how the content is produced. They just want it to be helpful. And they actually have this whole list of questions where you can self-assess the content. Is it helpful or is it not? So if AI is used to grade it, fine, as long as it's helpful and it passes these assessments. Now here's
unique. I think unique is a big one because it starts to just repeat itself.
Well, that's what I was getting ready to say. So left to its own devices, AI, essentially all AI does is scour the internet for what everyone else has said on this given topic and puts it together into a thing. And it will have the exact same information that everyone else has.
Yeah.
Every time. So find ways to actually train, if you're using ChatGPT or Copilot or whatever, find ways to train the AI you're using with your knowledge, with your experience, with your SOPs, with your customer personas, with like details of what you do, and actually let the robot learn your business inside and out really, really deeply. And then when it writes content, it's unique to your business in your market for your customers. That stuff tends to rank in crazy, crazy well. Because again, it's not just like pulling random stuff from the internet and putting it together. It's helpful and specific to your business, to your customers, to the thing you're trying to do. It's awesome. So yeah, AI by itself is not a bad guy. It's not used to be. It's not anymore. But you just have to use it well. It's just like anything else, right? The tool's only as good as how well you use the tool.
Right now. So, okay, with the AI and everything, what do people need to be focused more on right now? And what could they be focusing less on with the way that things are changing?
As it relates to AI, you mean?
It doesn't have to be. I just think that AI is like the thing that is changing everything right now.
It really is.
Especially with like the most recent thing about the AI search using, which of course I just saw what people posted about it, that it's like not really that accurate or it's not great, but we know that is how it's going to go. Right. Yeah. I mean, because it's combined right now anyways with Gemini.
Yep. And Google's going to go the same way, right? So I have a real fear. I have no reason to think this other than just I fear this, that Google will eventually result to, like it used to be like you'd have 10 organic listings, 3 maps listings, and like 2 or 3 ads at the top. And now it's like, oh, now we got like a couple ads and we got a couple LSA. And now we get the maps. Now organic's getting squished. And now we're like, oh, wait, no, Gemini's actually going to do this whole call out.
Yeah.
And steal the traffic. And you're going to get, I truly have a thing of like, if you search for a plumber, if you search for a pizza, Google might be moving to the point where you don't get 10 options. You don't even get 3 options. You might get, here's your option. Right. And that terrifies me for a lot of reasons.
On the Google side, you got to focus someplace else.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know that will ever happen, but that does really, really terrify me.
I'm the person that when I'm looking at a restaurant, I go through like 4 pages on the maps to try to find I want to eat at. So
okay, hold on. Just before we hit record, you go on and on and on about how when you go to the grocery store, you get the same thing every time.
You're right. Don't look at
You're
right.
But
the restaurant
is like, I'm doing all the research and figure out when it comes to
I'm not researching. I'm just trying to figure out what I want. It's a little bit different. But yeah, I do go really far in the maps on there. I always tell people this story though of great marketing. This year I had to purchase a whole new HVAC system and invest tens of thousands of dollars in it. Yeah. And I know because I'm so aware of marketing marketing, that the company I chose is because of their marketing, because of everything that I've seen. I've seen their marketing for the last 10 years. They're a sponsor of the San Antonio Spurs. I see their logos all over there. I see their billboards. Hear their radio commercials. I've heard them for the last 10 years. I see their trucks, and that's why I chose them. Like, there's no other reason. So I know that that's how marketing works. But what a long game. They've been marketing to me since I was like in high school.
But see, this is actually one of the things though that I think is wrong with the trades right now is everyone's obsessed with like the point of last touch, like the last thing a customer did.
Right.
You know, like, oh, they visited our website and they called from that number. Okay,
How'd they get there? Yeah.
It's the whole like what even led them up to like they were marketing to you since high school.
Okay, that was more than 10 years ago, but it has been a long time.
The point still stands though, right? Like marketing is not a single transaction event.
Right.
Right. I saw a billboard. I picked up the phone and called because I saw a billboard.
Right. No,
like,
not at all.
That.
Especially when you're going to be purchasing a $40,000 HVAC system. Like it is a lot that goes into that decision of who you trust.
Even if it's cheap, like let's just say McDonald's. How many of us drive by?
Right. Like how many times do you see
billboards? Yeah. And we don't like pull off the road the instant we see golden arches.
Right. Well, like Buc-ee's you do, but Buc-ee's has good marketing.
Buc-ee's is incredible.
They have great marketing. Their billboards are awesome.
Buc-ee's. Anybody, we need to
but it's like Apple. It's a feeling that you get. I mean, and they do have great bathrooms, but it's so crowded. It's like sometimes I would rather go across the street because it's so crowded.
Are you talking about Apple or Buc-ee's now?
Buc-ee's. I'm talking about Buc-ee's.
Buc-ee's. Okay, for those who don't know about Buc-ee's, it's like
I feel like everybody does. Even if you don't have them, people know. Their marketing succeeds them.
Well, that's really bold, but it's like the best of all. Like it's always in these like long
it's a truck stop.
highways. It's not a truck stop.
Oh, right. It's a gas station.
It's a glorified, amazing. Imagine a Walmart Supercenter and a gas station had a baby.
Right.
Like it's that. So they've got like great food. They got all kinds of merch. The bathrooms was like a bajillion stalls and they're always clean. Doors. Yeah. Like Buc-ee's is awesome. It's not exactly the same as Apple, but the point still stands of you have to reinforce that message over and over and over and over and over. And it's easy to talk about Apple now as one of the most viable companies in the history of the world.
I love their marketing story.
Right.
They pulled one over on everyone and it still goes. Yeah, it still works.
It is one of these things where you're like, okay, cool. And they don't have the best phone.
No, but everybody could swear on their life that if you're not an Apple user, you're dumb because why would you not want the best? And it's not the best.
Excuse me. One, it's never because why would you not want the best? Although you are dumb because I saw a post you did on Facebook yesterday and I almost made a comment like,
sorry, I think
your Samsung. Because you had your little Android phone up to your face. Like, get that phone out of the face.
Oh, that's true.
You know what
I do know what you're talking about. But we all know the reason that I have a Samsung phone is because of their incredible camera and it's a better operating system. It's a better phone. It won't, because Apple has like a, what is that called? Where they won't let other people use their text messaging.
Yeah, it's like a closed system.
So, right. Which is like a problem for them. Apple users are the problem. You are the reason that your pictures are pixelated when they come through in a group text. It is not the Samsung user.
Well, that's really weird. One, because people who have iMessage have no issues with that resolution.
Unless the Samsung comes in, because then you're not using iMessage anymore.
So you're basically saying that Samsung makes everyone else dumber.
No. Okay. But the whole point of this is that marketing makes such an impact on us as humans that we can make decisions based just on marketing that we think that things are better than they are.
Well, how about this? It's not always about better than they are. It's people make decisions with emotion. And we've gotten really good at justifying that emotion with logic.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So people make a decision with emotion like, well, Samsung's better. They get a better camera. And look at this. It's super, super huge and it catches fire sometimes. But the facts that you back it up with are like, what? Like it, but that's the thing, right? Like you're having to like backwards, like back yourself into from the emotion to get to logic that may or may not be valid. So Apple's a great example. It is a ego. It is a status when you have an Apple product.
It's a status.
They don't have the best camera. They don't have the best screen. They don't have the best battery. However, I would argue they are the most deeply integrated. Like they're the most elegantly optimized together.
With itself.
Totally with itself.
Like whereas everything else can optimize with anything. But
sort of.
I mean,
like I've got a Pixel right here on my desk. Like I hate using this phone.
Yeah.
Like I hate it. Yeah.
I don't want to ostracize Apple users because I'm fine with you guys too. I think that the Apple marketing story is a great story. If you've never heard it, it's just basically that nobody cared about Apple computers because they took out this big ad in the paper of like 19 pages about how great the computer was. And then it didn't sell. And now I feel like I'm going to mess it up, but who is it? Steve Jobs, right?
Yeah.
That came back from marketing branding school, and he learned about storytelling. And so instead the marketing became more about a story of status than a story of features. And that's still what it is today, which is why it has
the other thing that you're kind of, I think, squishing out of the story is that, so Steve Jobs is not an engineer, right?
No, he came from Pixar or Disney.
So, but his thing is that he focused on what people wanted. He's still focused on the end user. So one of the things for him early on was like, people don't want a personal computer that they have to program. Like, they don't have to assemble all these different things. Like, they want it to just to work. When you go into like do a word processor, like, you should have fonts and pick multiple fonts because that's what you want to do. That's what like a school teacher would do. Nobody was doing this at the time, right? It was all like, they were very complicated. They're very nerdy.
Yeah.
So he focused on the end user. You're literally proving the point for me of saying he didn't really care about the mechanics. He pushed the engineers to create something that was so integrated and so intuitive that an average person could pick it up and use it.
And it was, I mean, when the iPod was dropped and a lot of that innovation what has been huge and really is how we live today. So he definitely had that and still had that figured out. Okay. So like, we've been talking so much about marketing, but, and we talked a little bit about social media, but what are your thoughts about personal branding? So I know it's something that you think about and how it affects you personally, but for even like owners of home service companies, is it something that can be beneficial in any way?
Yeah, this is a hard one for me. So we had a similar sort of conversation at the podcaster panel at WHVCR in Dallas this year. And somebody asked me the same thing about like the personal branding thing. And I just had to say, like, I hate it. Like, I hate it. And it's part of just my personality, right? Like, for those who don't know, I'm really introverted.
I don't think it does. Did you say it purges or it's part of?
No, it's part of.
Okay. You just don't like it.
I don't like it because I'm just a private person. I'm an introverted person. I don't like what social media has become in our culture. Like, I just don't like it. However, it doesn't mean that it's not a good tactical tool to deploy, especially if you have prominent role within a business or your community or your industry. So for me, I have found that it is a helpful and pragmatic pill to swallow that I cannot wait to be done with. Like, right, when the day comes when I don't have to like carry a phone on me and I don't have to do Facebook posts like 3 or 4 times a week, like, I'm done. But there is a value in doing that. It tells a story. It builds familiarity. People feel that they know you and they can trust you because of what you say on social. And for good or for bad, people believe what they read. So you can actually craft the image you want people to think and feel. That comes down to helping you hire, helping you recruit, helping you create strategic alliances. If God forbid something happens in the press, like one of your techs flips over on a highway and multiple car accident with fatalities.
That's horrible.
I know people this has happened to. So it sounds absurd, but like, I know these people. When you are well branded, it makes it easier for the news agencies to give you favorable coverage.
Yeah,
right?
That's true.
There's a lot of benefit to controlling what people look and feel and experience. And I would also argue it's not just social, although social is a really easy one that everyone has at their fingertips. For more sophisticated operators, this should probably include things like PR, of like actually intentional outreach of earned media that way. When you combine both of them together, like a really thoughtful social program like what you guys do, and then like a really intentional and robust PR campaign, like Ripley PR comes to mind of doing this for the trades really well. It is really, really effective helping overcome strategic challenges businesses have. So personal branding, yes, it is a really, really powerful tool that I also personally hate sometimes. It's like, so I find this dichotomy, but I still do it, you know?
Yeah. Okay. So what, after listening to this, what is the next step that a home service provider needs to do in order to level up their marketing?
Yeah, I know you always critique me because you're like, the things I say are so high level, but yet
they are. I mean, I get it. It's where you're at, but they're not as tangible. Like, go do this.
Yeah, it totally is. Because my first thing is like, focus on your why.
But I think focus on the customer would be a little bit.
Well, so then I think customers underneath your why. So when you have a really compelling why, you can attract really quality humans to help you accomplish your goals, right? People can align themselves. I was speaking with someone the other day. He's the CEO of Eco Plumbers in Ohio, I think is where Aaron is. But he's done an incredible job. He's on his route to hit $100 million of revenue as a plumbing and HVAC company. The thing that he does better than anyone isn't mechanical skills. It isn't finance. It isn't technology. It isn't, oh, well, he's got a really good social campaign. It isn't SEO. It's none of those things. The thing he does better than anyone is he creates a really, really big vision that is so big that high caliber people can see themselves in it, right? When you do that, when you attract these really high, powerful people into your vision, now the world is your oyster. You can do so many things. Now you can say, let's really get really clear and really intentional on who our customers are. Hey, let's actually have a really engaging and compelling social campaign that really connects and helps us not just be viral and have all those engagement metrics, but also helps business KPIs too. Like you can actually attract these right people when your vision is big enough. But that means you have to own your why. Like you have to know why you're getting up in the morning when things are hard, when things are difficult, when shoulder season comes and everyone's complaining about whatever. You just have to remember those things and paint a vision so big enough that people want to be a part of it. So yeah, it sounds big and it's like, hey, do these 3 things and call me in the morning. But the reality is if you don't love what you do, your employees won't love what you do. If you don't believe you're helping the customer, your customer won't believe you're helping them. If you don't get excited to do it, even when it's hard, you're not going to attract anyone else to do it when it's hard too. It's a really important exercise that people skip over. They want to skip straight to success and skip over all the work to get to success. And I'm saying, get really, really clear on your why. If you have one thing, start with your why. There's books on that. There's TED Talks on it.
Yeah.
Own the why. You didn't like that answer.
No, it's not that. I think that was a really great answer. I think that starting with the why it's always been a difficult question, especially early on, because a lot of people early on, their why is around, am I glitching to you?
No, not really.
Okay. Their why
is a dog collar in the background. That was kind of weird.
The why is around wanting to make money or needing money. And so then people are like, does that why matter? Is that a strong enough why? And I think it does. I think there's a lot more rooted in that of building wealth and building opportunity for other people. But I think that some people get stuck on that because they're like, well, that's not a good enough why.
Well, and I'd probably say it's not. I would say that every business exists to make money. So if everyone's goal is to make money, then what makes you different or more valuable, more helpful than the next? Now, what is probably more impactful is what you would do with the money. Like, hey, I really want to change. We have a client who their main goal is to be a second chance employer for convicted felons.
Yeah.
Because a lot of them have issues getting any sort of skilled jobs, any sort of opportunities, getting hired anywhere. And he wants to have a path for them to have a 6-figure income within the trades. That's his why. Yeah, you need a crap ton of money to do that. That's not an easy endeavor. So yeah, for him, his why is he wants to give second chance careers to people who otherwise society says won't have them. And he does it. He needs money to make that happen. But if he just wants a solid 6-figure paycheck at the end of the day, it's not going to resonate. You're not going to attract people around you to be like, I believe in that. So your why, the what you do with the money that you're trying to cash flow and earn and grow, the why you want that money, that's probably the important part, not just the
so go deeper with it. Don't get stuck on I just need to survive. Because I think many people building business have a lot deeper than that. Otherwise you would just give up. It's not
because it's a whole lot easier to go get a job somewhere else.
Right. Exactly.
I will stock the hell out of shelves at Target someday.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. So I appreciate this conversation. I think this has been super impactful. Even the broadness of it. I do think that you got really granular and told some great stories. So if somebody wants to work with you or find you or learn more about you, where can they do that?
So probably the best spot, just go to our website. It's levergy.io. And before you think, hey, we should work with this guy, which we'd love to talk, there's actually a section, when you scroll down, there's a whole section of why you shouldn't work with us. We've gotten really, really selective about finding people who are high performing. They're willing to invest in themselves and their companies. And there's a whole lot of ways to spin your wheels and go after the next shiny thing. That's not what we do. So go to levergy.io, scroll down to see why you shouldn't work with us. And hey, if those things resonate, cool, let's have a talk. But if you also look at them and be like, yeah, I'm gonna go do something else, awesome, that's great too. But yeah, would love to be able to connect with people who feel like there might be a good fit.
Ryan also has a podcast.
I do.
What is the podcast called?
Is this a quiz? Are you asking me if I remember?
No. No, but people can listen to your podcast.
You don't remember. The podcast is called Blue Collar CEO.
I do. And what can they expect?
This is like one of those things where like you're like, can you finish my sentence? What's my favorite color?
I'm trying to prompt you on telling more about you.
I hate talking about myself. We've been through this. So yeah, Blue Collar CEO, we literally talk with men and women of the trades, of all sorts of trades, of just how they think on their journey to make a bigger, more profitable, more sustaining home service business. So you're going to talk to people who've been really successful startups, super fast growth, people who have exited, people who are actually doing the acquisition. We try to like not just see what they did, like what are the steps, but also how do they think in the process? What lessons do they learn? So hopefully you can take things away too. But we've had some really awesome guests. Aaron Gaynor, who I mentioned earlier. We've had Tommy Mello on. We've had like mutual friends like Leslie Harpool, Cassie Pound. Jen, you've been on the show. It's been a minute. Yeah. Like, so we have really, really good humans. So people can check it out wherever they get the podcast.
Awesome. Yep. And you can find Levergy on all the social media platforms. You can find Ryan on all the social media platforms.
Yeah. Maybe not. What's the one that Facebook started doing that's like Twitter, but not Twitter now? Threads. Is that what they're called?
Oh, Instagram Threads. Right.
Yeah.
That was cool for like a second.
I'm not good there now.
Me
yeah.
either.
Aside from that, I'm
TikTok. You can find him on TikTok.
TikTok. Yeah. I'm everywhere.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Ryan. I appreciate your time today.
Thank you, Jen.
Bye.